Welcome everyone. Great to see some of you here with us live. Also, greetings to all of you watching later on through the YouTube video. For those that haven't tuned in before, my name is Shailen and my mother will be joining us soon. And we are students of the Brahma Kumari Center in London, although we now live a little bit outside of London. And so the purpose of these sessions is so that we can chit chat. We're quite experienced students, so it gives a chance to share some things we've learned, and we'll read one of Baba's Muralis today as well on a topic. The topic I chose today was on unleashing the subtle body, because the London Centre played the Murali we're going to hear as a video feed on their evening sustenance program. They broadcast it. So I had it on the background while I was working, and there were so many good points to it, and Ranjan Bennett watched it. So we felt it was a good one for us to explore in further detail today. So Ambika Ben, I can see you there. How are you?
I'm good. I'm good. I've settled down a bit into my own regime, so I'm doing well. I think I've had acceptance of my health issues, and I'm doing my exercise, and I think it's really helping. Really helping.
Wonderful.
So it's really a discipline. It is a discipline.
Right.
Sometimes you caught up. Job this week, I think I got a little bit irritated on some issues, but it hadn't happened for a while. So you realize that, you're thinking you're going along fine, and then something happens in office, and then you realize you need to check. And what I've recognized really is that really being quiet, how much it helps, just going back into yourself. And because sometimes your thoughts are not as benevolent as it should be. So I would have gone back into a bit of being judgmental on some situation at the office, but then, you step back a bit and put a point and say, drama, everyone is playing their part. And in their own time, each one will recognize as it should be, So really, I think, really drama is benevolent in many ways. And once I'm able to recognize that, sometimes not in the moment when I should, but then to reflect and say, okay, I need to improve here. It is the drama. This is what it is. You do what you have to do. What I'm cautious about is really not going back into wanting to be judgmental. This person should be like that, or that person should be like that. While it's a good thought and you want them to be better, it is really judging. And for me, I recognize it can also come from a point of ego. Everybody's at their own level. And we all improving, hopefully, day by day. So it's a check-in, really a constant check-in.
Yeah, I think that's nice. And it's also, the other way of looking at it is not that I got irritated, so it reminded me that I've got those sanskars, but I didn't get irritated for so long, which shows my progress as well. So, the fact that it's becoming more novel is a good sign that your power of peace and your power of acceptance and accommodation is growing.
Yeah, I do feel so.
Yeah, that's great. That's lovely to hear that. And Sister Maria, I can see you on screen. How are you? Great. You have to unmute yourself. Would you like to share anything? No.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. Tomorrow will be a new month, and so Daddy Prakashmani's month. I have the earphone because I'll be moving around doing some chores, but I'm with you.
Wonderful. Okay. I think it's Monday actually. Tomorrow is the 31st. Yeah.
Yes. Well, day after tomorrow.
Yeah. Yeah. We've got some material on Daddy Prakashmani in August that we'll share with all of you for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. Great. Great to see you. And Judy Ben,
thanks for the material on that, Didi Manmohina.
Yeah, no, we enjoyed that as well. Yeah. Judy Ben, I can see you on screen. How are you? You have to unmute yourself also.
Yes, Brother Shalin, I'm doing well. I'm just working on getting powers from Baba. I think that's so important at this time when the world is coming to an end, in order to help myself and help my family and help others. I think getting that drishti and being able to become powerful, I mean, it's so difficult because in last days, Murli, we talk about the mothers and that the mothers are so important, but the brothers have to help the mothers. And I thought about that because it is sometimes very difficult to get the brothers to help the mothers.
Yes, that's true. I think that's why Baba's giving those messages, So, I mean, times have changed, but not everywhere. And also times have not changed evenly everywhere. So one of the things that I think we all have to continue to convey is the specialities of everyone, and also encouraging that certainly in the Lokik world, all types of gender stereotypes and things, that these are based on false beliefs. It's all blind faith, really. And tomorrow in England, we've got the women's football team playing in the European final, and this is the first tournament where they've been given equal status in media broadcasting to the men. And so there is a big buzz around the country for this one. And they are no longer being reported as women's football. It's the England team. They're being called the England team. And if you think, when I was at school, I can recall one girl playing football, and that was it. That was it. It was not done. And so I think what we're seeing is that gradually, bit by bit, changes are occurring. But Baba then, of course, takes everything into the unlimited and into the spiritual. And for me, it's also the understanding that I'm a soul who's been a mother, been a father, but I'm not defined by one body. And so to help sisters is to help me. It's not actually any different. For example, my next birth could be in a female body, right? So actually supporting that now just helps me in the next birth. And I think if we begin to see that it's not me or them, but it's helping us all, and we break out of those attitudes, then I think that's what Baba is gearing us towards. I think on his unlimited spiritual level, he's also looking at the energy of creation, of the mother. In other Muralis, he takes up the purity of Kumari, the purity of the single sisters as well. So in the West, they talk about, or older Western traditions, they talk about the Ishtihar, the divine female. So you've got some goddesses that are not mother figures, but they are the divine single women. So you do have those goddesses too, but I think this week's Murali, it was more about the mother goddess. So it's understanding that each, because there's even one mother goddess where I think it's old England, old English religions, that they have a three-headed god, like a Trimurti goddess, and they worship the mother when she's young, when she's older, and when she's old. So they actually have these 3 phases of the mother as well. And all 3 phases are worshipped. So I think it's understanding that when we're in particular bodies playing particular roles, certain qualities are empowered in certain ways. Even if we take up the same quality of care, it's probably just feels different when it's a mother doing it too. You've got many men who are very motherly, haven't you? Very caring, but it just feels a bit different. So it's understanding that there's just a different energy to that. And Baba is working on such a subtle level. I think there's also something about purity as well. And I think maybe something there in the testosterone of the male body, where Baba tends to use the sisters more for, say, like offering of ball and these sorts of things. So there's something there, I think, as well. And it's just understanding that. Then your point about the 8 powers, that's what I do as well. So I think that's got to be our focus. And we had both Borg messages from Madhuban, which were commemorating Didi's day. And both said the same thing, even though they were being offered at the same time in different complexes, the message was the same. They come full. And ultimately, it's all about the emptiness and the fullness of the soul. The external circumstances are part of the Iron Age. And we're not going to be able to prevent those. So Baba is saying to us, in fact, they will intensify. And the question Baba was asking us in the Borg message from New York was, the Iron Age will finish suddenly. Are you going to be ready if it finishes today to go to the Golden Age? And I think for most of us, the answer is no, because we do need to be full. We need to be full of all the 8 powers. We need to be full of all the virtues, and we need to be full of all the knowledge. So I think that that's where we've got to have that patience. Generally, our intellect becomes full first with knowledge. And as long as we're hearing the Murali each day, churning, asking questions, our understanding grows quite quickly. And most Brahmins, they're pretty competent with knowledge, and you'll have different specialities of churning, so there'll be always variability, but generally, probably most regular students are full in Baba's knowledge. There's one BK student sister here who left the body a couple of weeks ago, and this brother knew her well, and he was obviously shocked. And I was saying to this brother that, you've got to expect that. It's obviously going to be a shock because it was a sudden thing. And I said that my experience is that my heart, my subconsciousness is about 10 years behind my intellect. So my intellect gets it quickly. I know what to do. And Baba says you can understand it, you can explain to others, but the real work is going to be working on your heart, working on your own sanskars. So we had the Murali last Sunday about the royalty of reality. And Baba basically giving that message that look at your fullness inside. You've got to have all the powers, you've got to have all the virtues, you've got to have that divinity within you. And even in the Murali to the mothers on, I think it was on Thursday, he commented, his first bit of the Murali was about the preciousness, the value of the mothers, the quality of the mothers. Then he went on to motivate the mothers to serve, to give knowledge, to give benefit to their friends and support their friends as well. And then he brought it back and said, but it's no good if you've got all the attachments still inside of you. You're just giving advice to others. You've got to have a look at your internal state. And I think that that's what takes the time. It doesn't take that long to understand knowledge. But we've got to absorb and get to know ourselves and absorb from Shiv Baba. I think Baba is increasing his distribution rate as well. And I think that more and more BKs are helping each other because people's yoga is developing. But I always think, okay, how can I absorb more? How can I have the same yoga but absorb more? The first thing, though, is really to focus on love. And Shiv Baba's love contains all of the 8 powers. It's a unique love for that reason. This morning's Morally was all about this concept of love and sacrifice. And the thing about human love is that it doesn't contain these 8 powers. You know, we have love from someone and it makes us feel good. You know, it can give us even courage and strength. But it doesn't empower us with these 8 powers so that we ourselves are then empowered and full. Shiv Baba is actually empowering us in such a way that we won't even remember him for half a cycle. And that's really remarkable, isn't it? He is so egoless that he is looking to empower us so that we don't need him anymore. And usually with human love, that doesn't happen. Even if someone is selfless, we still have a level of dependency on them. But Baba's, because his love has these 8 powers within it, it's empowering. It's an empowering love. His love is also cleaning. Again, that's unique. Human love does not clean the soul. And we call it the Chit, which is like our past memory store. And yesterday I was thinking a lot about the blessing, and I was saying how it seems to me that perception and memories, these two dominate awareness. And the thing about memories is that they're stored within us and they get triggered automatically. And if we are not conscious all the time, they just are our default way of thinking and feeling. And Baba's love is able to clean those out. And we've got to then use our patterns of thinking to also select the memories that we emerge. And those memories then get empowered. So what happens at the end of the Iron Age is that as long as we've got that past burden of all those subconscious memories, we've got an emptiness, a neediness. The circumstances of drama, the behavior of others continues to push our buttons, continues to create that instability within us. And I think the only shortcut is, as we develop our yoga, then we should be able to absorb more quickly, and preferably reach a point where we can have such power that we can change ourselves instantly. But I think generally there isn't really a shortcut. It's an incremental process to be able to that incremental. Okay, Sister Juliet, thanks for your message. Thanks for tuning in for a bit. So there's that incremental process. So I think you've got to have a lot of patience. Because your intellect understands quickly, you will often lose patience with yourself and with others. And it'll be like, well, why are my feelings not matching what I know I should be doing? And why are my responses not matching what I know I should be doing? And I feel that we've got to have a lot of patience and understand that emotional intelligence is, I think, just inherently slower than intellectual intelligence, intellectual knowing. But once it's established, it lasts. So Baba's getting us to clean ourselves out very deeply, change our sanskars, but then it will last for a whole half cycle. It's not that we're just making some sort of superficial change and then it'll switch back again next life or later in this life. But Baba's saying, take the time, make that deep change, because then he's going to make sure that it becomes a permanent change for thousands of years.
Thank you so much, Brother Shailen. Um, what you said is so very important because we cannot allow things to affect us. Baba is talking a lot about going into silence now, not talking too much, words too much. We're getting to the end, and so he's not going to be explaining too much, but he's going to be letting us know what is important at this time, so we could, be ready for the end. Thank you so much.
I think so. I think the message from Thursday was about letting go of carelessness and laziness. So as long as we're studying the moralities, because we also need to know everything in order to go into silence. It's something about the human soul that until we understand, we can't be peaceful. So this is why Baba shares all of this knowledge. So let's go into the depth and carry on studying and really enjoy that. Let's have faith that Baba and Drama are going to make sure I get there. Let's not have doubt in that. So there is always enough time because I have to become that. I have to become what I was every cycle. So time is always a product. Baba says it's the creation of the Brahmins. You are the creators. So don't worry about those things. But just focus on becoming more full each day. Amrit Vela is vital. So the yoga of Amrit Vela is when we can become powerful. And without that yoga, it just won't be possible. And we can experience Baba's love, and through Baba's love, Baba's powers. And then reading of the morally or listening to the morally, studying that makes us full of knowledge. And then through the day, Baba says, challenge yourself to have karma yoga, because that's more difficult, of course, to concentrate. And you get somehow a different feeling of power when you practice that karma yoga. Somehow it's like Baba's smiling down on you, watching that you're challenging yourself. You're giving this a go, and he will always support that. And through the day, we're becoming full of virtues. So that's really the key. What Baba says is that you have to use the powers. You have to use the virtues to make them your own. You'll hear about them in the morning, but you'll be hearing about them as if they were Brahma. The Shiv Baba generally talks about Brahma. So you'll be hearing about them and understanding them, but you won't feel that they're yours until you're using them in the day. And the drama is designed at confluence age to highlight what you're good at and where you're lacking. So the different circumstances will always highlight that. And we have to become full in all the powers, and we've got to be able to do that in different circumstances, not just with the same people, not just with that. And usually the people we live with, they are our biggest tests, because it's continuous, there's usually some sort of personal familiarity. So all of those things are more likely to come there. It's a different self at work. It's a different self in society. You know, these are different selves. And we've got to show we can have all of the 8 powers to 100% in all of the selves. So this is why the drama will test us. And then we've got to develop all the virtues. And there's a long list of those. So each part, what we can, and I suppose we've got to do this, is focus on our strengths. You know, that's good as well. But sometimes we can focus on our strengths so much, we're not seeing the weaknesses. And, you know, rather than looking at things as sort of as external, so this person is testing me, or I think even thinking that this is a karmic account, oh, this is my karma coming back to me. I think probably we should just think, well, what virtue do I have to develop here? And what power do I have to develop here? You know, rather, oh, I'm settling accounts, or I'm not sure even that way of thinking is elevated. It's like, it's quite ordinary. But the elevated way of thinking is just, okay, what is the virtue? You know, that sometimes it's a virtue of just letting go, isn't it? And just being light. It's a virtue of not getting involved and using the power to withdraw. So it's many different virtues we've got to use in the day. And just to see that that's what drama's doing, rather than personalizing it.
Thank you so much. It makes me focus on what I really need to do.
Yeah, pleasure. Would anyone else like to come in with any comments or questions?
Just a quick sharing, if I may. Thank you so much for the guidance on the Shiv Mantra. I have been experimenting on that with the little group, and very small successes, but nevertheless very substantive successes. It allows one to quickly withdraw and get into that space of complete love, which is really beautiful. So any other sharing you may have on that Shiv Mantra point, that will be really useful.
Yes, thank you for sharing that. I've also been continuing to practice that, and I've also had, as you say, small successes, but consistent successes. And that, of course, motivates one to do more, doesn't it? Once we see it, we believe it even more, we're motivated to use it even more. So I want to link it back to this point of perception and memories and awareness. So I was sharing yesterday how we've got to be really aware of our own memories dominating our awareness, and how through the day we can just be in a default where our patterns of thinking are being driven by past memories. And because it's become normal to think in a particular way, we're not even realizing it's being driven by the past. And so to be consciously aware during the day of my pattern of thinking. And then secondly, about perception, and how perception is something that we don't usually call a power. When we say perception, we sort of just mean it as a thing maybe in the brain, or It's just something we see it as part of subjectivity. Everyone's got their own perception. Like, so we see it that way. But the way Baba teaches us is to see perception as a power, like almost like a lever, like a gate, like a telescope, like a magnifier. And so I was thinking that it's not only how those two influence smriti, awareness, but how does smriti influence those two? And that power of perception has to be used to empower certain memories as well. So the awareness that Baba gives us is that you are these shaligrams in the soul world, you are these deities, you are these angels, and he gives us the drill of the 5 forms. So there we are using smriti to actually then access certain memories. So this is the idea. We've got these acquired memories of the Copper and Iron Age that are sitting on top of the memories of the Golden Age. And because those memories are sitting on top, they are easier to access. So we will automatically access those by default. The effort is in lifting up the boxes of files and getting to the bottom box. Just, okay, I haven't got much time, I'll just take what's on top. And this is what our mind does. But there are powerful memories of the Golden Age. But in the Muralis, Baba is emerging that for us. He's working on those children, do you remember? And just thinking about Brahma Baba's complete angelic form today, and for Brahma Baba and Mama, they seem to have used this power of awareness and the power of perception to just access the bottom box of files and push off the other boxes, and then just access those memories. So you end up with this cyclic triangle where your awareness is accessing those original memories, and those original memories then influence perception. So if I'm in that, like when we have those elevated feelings, all Brahmins have glimpses of their perfection, of their angelic self, of that perfect love with Baba. And at that time, your perception is nothing is a big deal. Yeah, no problem. Nothing is a problem. Nothing is a big deal. Your perception of other souls is also elevated. And you'll be looking at a person who is your relative. You begin to see, oh, this is Baba's child. This is a saligram soul of the soul world. You'll begin to immediately change your perception. So I think that this Shiv Mantra is the shortcut for activating these 3 dynamics. That what seems to happen is, as we practice just merging in Baba's love, it dominates our awareness. That Shiv Baba's love dominating our awareness, like Baba was saying today, practice bodiless. Just become bodiless. And it then seems to access the best of us. So those divine sanskars, those divine feelings, those divine memories get access. And it has a big, so once Baba's love is dominating awareness and divine memories are being accessed, then the power of perception is then used in a very, very positive and productive way. So often perception is an indicator for how strong I'm feeling inside. Perception is actually not a good indicator of truth. And I have to sort of teach myself this, because each of us will probably be overconfident in our own perception. And so we think, well, this is the reality. But actually, perception is just a reflection on how I'm feeling about myself and how I'm feeling about the world. So what the Shiv Mantra does is it's taking me into this higher sense of feeling, this higher connection. And being in Shiv Baba's company influences the way that influences my outlook. So then, because I'm feeling something different, my outlook is different, my perception is then different. So I begin to see, okay, how does Baba perceive? How does he see? And it begins to make more sense in a feeling level. But why does Baba keep such an elevated vision of soul? I look at the same person, and because I see a person, I am accessing the top box. So I've known that person in this life. Or I don't really know the person, and so I have recorded in my Chit what someone else has told me about this, right? Or I know them a little bit, but then someone has told me something. And so my perception is being heavily influenced by that box of memory that I have stored, but it's just the convenient one. But what Shiv Baba's love does is it enables me to access that bottom box, the one with the divine memories and the divine sanskars. It helps me to look underneath and say, okay, so that's the quality of the song. That's where they're coming from. So again, I'm finding that I'm using the power of perception, just reminding myself to look at the positive. Okay, this is that soul's quality. That's what's good about that. And I'm finding that that then makes the interaction easier as well. So the Shiv Mantra is not just automatically changing things, but it's having that impact on my consciousness. And then I'm able to use the power of perception differently too.
Thank you, Baba. Very useful.
You're welcome. So I think those two influence awareness, and awareness influences those two. But I would suggest everyone really uses the power. Let's actively use the power of perception. Don't just see perception as a passive thing that you sort of just perceive, but actively use it as a power. Thank you for that. Would anyone else like to come in and share anything or ask anything? Okay, so let's hear a bit of more of the end. I think it will trigger many things. Do you want to say?
Yes, I'd like to share, now listening to this bit, that first of all, Om Shanti, good morning to all. And I'm sure you all have, after the Muli, it is Didi's month. And we've been reading Didi's classes. She didn't give many classes, but few, but they were very, very, she spoke, when she spoke, those who have seen her said that it was from her embodiment, and she gave experience, and she took people beyond her, with her drasti. You just went beyond. And so classes, I'm sure you had it, and her specialities. But today, one class, she said that just stay in your self-respect. And that is like, that means planting the seed of Baba's love, spiritual love in the soul. And it touched me. I love that if I stay in my self-respect and stay with Baba, it's Baba who is love, that's very healing. And Baba knows what the soul needs, that soul's karma, everything, everybody, every soul. So that is, I thought, was a beautiful way, without saying, giving Baba's introduction. You know, like Baba in the slogan said, you're spreading the good vibrations, make such an atmosphere that it's like Mansa Seva, service through mind. And this is subtle. She said, you don't have to speak much. Without speaking, just stay in your, no matter what the situation, just stay in your self-respect and Baba's love, and will plant the seed. So I thought that was good, to just way of staying in self-respect and giving others respect, and the waste and the, I think mind, intellect, and will be trained, and the sanskars will become not to look at other people's defects. Like Lady Ji said, some children waste so much time in looking at others and criticizing rather than seeing, looking at the speciality. Thank you.
Is more minute?
Yeah.
I'll make some comments as we go along, and then afterwards as well.
Yeah, this is a beautiful movie we heard on a Tuesday. And I think it sums up the entire month or all about how to be ever ready, how to do Mensa Seva, how to use our vehicle and become angelic vehicle, and go around, doing service. So that's fine. We thought it's nice to have this because it sums up everything, self-sovereignty. We had a only on self-sovereignty. So this is a Murli of 4th February 2001, 4/02/2001. And the theme is according to the time, become a self-sovereign and use all the spiritual facilities with a fast speed in an unlimited way. According to the time, become a self-sovereign and use all the spiritual facilities with a fast speed in an unlimited way.
So I'll just comment that in my mind, the word sadhana that Baba's using, and it's been interpreted here as facilities. I would translate that word to capability. So I'll leave it with you. Maybe hearing it as capability, that maybe that helps you with your understanding. Otherwise, you'll hear it as facilities throughout the morning.
And also, as you read here the Murli further up, Baba has clarified. Baba said, when you go to serve as an angel, which in your subtle vehicle, that means our subtle stage, people need the power, peace, power, and satisfaction, santushta. So Baba has explained, so you can, with your spiritual facilities. That's what Baba has explained, what you will hear now. So today, Bap Dada is seeing the gathering of his self-sovereign children all over the world. Each one is seen as one who has a right to self-sovereignty, one who is wearing the crown of the light of purity, as one who has applied a tilak of awareness of all rights and is seated on the immortal throne in the center of the forehead. So, to the extent that you experience all rights to self-sovereignty at this time, accordingly, you will claim all rights to the sovereignty of the world in the future. Who am I? And what is my future? Through your stage of self-sovereignty at this time, each of you can see this for yourself. Bap Dada was seeing the constant stage of self-sovereignty of each child. As you perform each action, as you perform a lockic or a lockic task, for how long and to what percentage do you constantly experience the intoxication of being one who has all rights to self-sovereignty? Many children remember the awareness of their self-sovereignty in their thoughts. I am a soul who has all rights. One thing is to think this in your thoughts, to refresh your awareness again and again. I am this. The other is to experience yourself in the form of having all rights and to rule over the senses, the workers, the mind, intellect, and sanskars, your cooperative companions, and have the authority to make them work just as all of you children experience at every moment that Bap Dada is making you move along according to Srimad, and so all of you do move along according to Srimad. The one who makes everyone move is making you move, and you who move are moving along. In this way, O self-sovereign souls, are your senses, that is your workers, your mind, intellect, and sanskars, your cooperative companions working under your orders? Baba is asking, are they working under your orders? All of them? One or two of the senses are not showing any mischievous games, are they? Is your kingdom functioning accurately with love and law? Instead of law and order, is it functioning accordingly with love and law? Is it functioning well? What do you think? Is it functioning well, or are there sometimes some arguments? Since you say, my hand, my sanskars, my intellect, my mind, do you therefore have all rights over that which is yours? Or is it that sometimes that which is yours has a right over you, and sometimes you have a right over that which is yours? According to the time, O self-sovereign souls, now constantly and easily be seated on your immortal throne. Only then can you enable other souls to receive the right to liberation in life and liberation from the Father quickly. So that whole passage had all these questions. The call of time is now very fast and unlimited. What you just saw and heard was a small rehearsal. And it says in the bracket, there was a big earthquake in Gujarat. So in Rajasthan, especially one part of Rajasthan, which is very dry and has, like roundness,
Desert.
desert. There they get a lot of earthquakes. And so they had a very big earthquake. And so Baba, that's why Baba asked, Baba just asked that the call of time is now very fast and unlimited. What you just saw and heard was a small rehearsal. So Baba called that a small rehearsal, but it was very big actually. And a lot of people lost their lives and their properties. And so it says there was a big earthquake in Gujarat. You saw the unlimited plan at once, did you not? The crying out is unlimited. Those dying is unlimited. Along with those dying, even those who are still alive are dying in distress. What is the duty of you self-sovereign souls at such a time? Check this. For instance, for physical situations, they show you what to do at the time of an earthquake, what to do when there are storms, what to do when there is a fire. In the same way, are all the many facilities that you elevated souls have, all the powers, the power of yoga, the magnet of love, ready for such a time? So for us, the preparation, Baba says, the powers, the power of yoga, the magnet of love, ready for such a time? Do you have all the powers? If someone wants the power of peace and you give him some other power, would he be content? Excuse me. For instance, if someone wants water and you give him 36 varieties of food, would he be content? Therefore, become ever ready, not just in becoming bodiless. You are to become that anyway. However, are you ever ready with all the facilities you have attained through self-sovereignty and those you have received as an inheritance from God?
So that's interesting. Isn't
Yeah,
it?
two.
Two types of I'm going to use the word capabilities. One is as we establish self-sovereignty. As I was listening to that, brothers and sisters might remember we did a few sessions on Brahma Baba's diary from the 1930s, where he was establishing this self-sovereignty back then. And Baba's asking us those questions. So we're about 100 years behind him. But Baba's saying, have you got it? And as you develop that control, like I was just speaking earlier about the power of perception, the control over which memories we're accessing, all of that would be part of self-sovereignty. Have you got self-sovereignty over all parts of you? And as you do develop that, then Baba's saying it unlocks certain spiritual capabilities. And then the second is inheritance. And the first inheritance we gain is of Baba's knowledge. And then as we connect with Baba in yoga, we gain the inheritance of different powers. Baba makes everything accessible, but it's up to us to draw that into ourselves. So Baba's saying that different capabilities are acquired or unlocked inside of the soul through the establishment of self-sovereignty, and different capabilities from the inheritance that we are drawing from Shiv Baba.
So Baba reminded us that if someone asks for water, very thirsty, they won't feel contented with even if you give them varieties of food. Therefore, become ever ready, not just in becoming bodiless, you are to become that anyway. However, are you ever ready with all the facilities you have attained through self-sovereignty and those you have received as an inheritance from God? It isn't, as you hear in the news, that they can only use the machinery that they want at that time after it comes from abroad, is it? That means that the facilities were not ever ready, were they? That you weren't able to use all the facilities at the time of need. So much damage was caused. So Baba means they start asking, the government declares the emergency and they start asking other nations to send, water and etc., all the machinery to remove those who are buried. And that's why Baba says they weren't ready for that. And so Baba is saying that they weren't able to use all the facilities at the time of need. So much damage was caused. Therefore, O world benefactors, world transformer souls, are all your facilities ever ready? So Baba is asking us to check. Are all your powers under your orders? As soon as you give an order, that is, as soon as you have the thought to order your decision-making power, then in less than a second, the decision-making power is present. The self-sovereign with all rights is present. Is everything in such order? Or does it take a minute to bring this within yourself, and that it is only then that you are able to give to others? What would happen if you are unable to give others what they want at that time? Baba has questioned us. What would happen if you are unable to give others what they want at that time? All the children have these thoughts in their heart. What is going to happen in the future? What do we have to do? Plenty will happen, Baba says. You were told that this is just a rehearsal. This is just the small bell for the preparation of six months. Means this was February, and then preparation, our season starts from October to March. So it's like 6 months. So Baba is this reminding us, you were told that this is just a rehearsal. This is just a small bell for the preparation of 6 months. The big bell hasn't rung yet, means bell of destruction hasn't rung. This small bell for preparation, rehearsal. First, the big bell will ring and then the drums will beat. Will you be afraid? Will you be a little afraid? No. What form has been portrayed of the souls who are embodiments of power? the Shakti form includes the form of the Pandavas as well as the Shaktis. Some Shaktis have 4 arms, some have 6 arms, some have 8 arms, and some have 16 arms. They are not shown to be ordinary. These arms are the symbol of all powers. Therefore, make all the powers you have attained from the Almighty authority emerge. Don't think that they will emerge when the time comes, but use all the different powers throughout the day and just see. To what extent do you bring into your activity the first practice of all, that of self-sovereignty? Not that I am a soul, a master anyway, but be the master and issue an order and check whether every sense is working under the love and law of you, the king. So Baba says, shall I read this again? Baba says, not just to have the thought, not that I am a soul, a master anyway, but be the master and issue an order and check whether every sense is working under the love and law of you, the king. If you give the order to become man manabo, and the mind goes towards negative and wasteful thoughts, then is this love and law? Question mark. You give the order to become an embodiment of sweetness, but because of problems and adverse situations, there is not the great form of anger, but subtle force or irritation. Then is this in order? Is this in order? Baba asked again, is this in order? Means anger's the progeny of anger and they're subtle. That is forceful, subtle force and irritation are the progeny, very subtle trace of anger. So you are not completely free of anger, and so you are not the master. That's what Baba is saying. Is this in order? You give the order to be humble, but according to the atmosphere, you ask yourself, for how long must I continue to be suppressed? I must show something. Do I have to remain suppressed? Do I have to die? Is it I who has to change? Then this is love and order. Baba said, if you have such thoughts, then Baba is asking, is this love and order? This is why, before you have mercy for the world and for sorrowful souls who are crying out, have mercy on yourself. Look after your right. As you progress further, you will have to carry out a lot of work of giving sakash, of giving vibrations, and of creating an atmosphere with your thoughts. You were told earlier that up to now, whoever is an instrument for whatever service, you are doing that very well and will continue to do so. However, now, according to the time, there is a need for fast speed and unlimited service. Therefore, now, first of all, check every day to what extent do I have self-sovereignty. The soul is the master who makes the senses work be an embodiment of this awareness. So Baba is teaching us the drill. I, the master, am making these cooperative companions do everything. When you have the intoxication of that form of yours, then all these senses will automatically say, yes, my Lord, present, my Lord, in front of you. So in Hindi, it's Ji Hazur, Hazur Hazir Hai. You know, when they go in front of king, and so our senses should come in front of us and should say, yes, my Lord, present, my Lord. Even our subtle mind, intellect, and sanskars, and all the senses should say this to us if we are seated on our throne and giving order. So that's why the Baba says, you won't have to make effort. Today, finish all waste thoughts. Today, finish all sanskars. Today, make emerge the decision-making power. All the physical senses and the mind, intellect, and sanskars will do whatever you want at once. You now say, Baba, as yet haven't done as much as I wish to. So you would say to Baba, Baba, as yet I haven't done as much as I wish to. Then you will say, I have easily been able to do that which I wanted. Therefore, do you understand what you have to do? Use the results of your right practically. Order your sanskars. Why do your sanskars order you? Why don't your sanskars finish? So Baba is questioning us when we have such thoughts that I haven't still yet managed to be the master. Then Baba asks us, therefore, do you understand what you have to do? Use the results of your right practically. Order your sanskars. Why do your sanskars order you? Why don't your sanskars finish? Your sanskars are bound to your orders. Bring about the authority of being the master. So there is a very, 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 very great, 4 times Baba said, very, very. So there is a very, 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 very great need to serve others. This is nothing. Very delicate times are yet to come. At such a time, you will become angels, and with your flying stage, you will go all around and give to those who want peace, those who want happiness, those who want contentment. You will go around in your angelic form and give sakash, and they will experience this. Just as now they experienced receiving water and their thirst was quenched. Because this was in Rajasthan, when on the earthquake, when it happened, Dadiji, they asked Dadiji, we don't have any water. And so we had lots of water, and Dadiji asked our brothers to fill the tankers and go with the water. And so our brothers took a lot of tankers and went up the hill, up the mountains, and delivered water for over a year or two, because until they asked, they said they had wells and enough. Dadiji kept sending because they had a need. And so this is what Baba is meaning about the water. And also with lots of doctors and other help Dadiji sent. But Baba is saying that, so Baba is reminding, you will go around in your angelic form and give sakash, and they will experience this. Just as now they experienced receiving water and their thirst was quenched. They received food and tents. They received support. So at that time, they would experience receiving peace from angels, receiving power, receiving happiness. In this way, the vehicle of the subtle body, which is your final stage, your powerful stage, will become your final vehicle. Then going around in all directions, you will give everyone powers. You will give them facilities. Baba means spiritual, Baba said, spiritual facilities, and like say to use it as capabilities. Does this form of yours come in front of you? Let it emerge. So many angels are touring around. They are giving sakash. Only then can it be said, like you sing in one of the songs. It's a beautiful song, Baba reminded. In the early days, we used to have these records, old records. The Shaktis have come. So in Hindi, it's a nice song. Shiv Shakti aa gayi is 30 days. Hindi, so you can one day. But it's a lovely song. So Shiv Shakti aa gayi. Those who are listening in Hindi, 30 days. So they are giving sakash. Only then it can be said, like you sing in one of the songs, the Shaktis have come. The almighty authority will automatically be revealed through the Shaktis. Did you hear this? According to the time, whatever you have done and whatever has happened is the best of all. Now in the future, something even better is to happen. Acha, you were not afraid, were you? You weren't afraid on hearing and seeing this news, were you? This is nothing. You have everything, and this is nothing. However, they are your brothers and sisters, and it is therefore good to serve them. Now, self-sovereigns, remain seated on your immortal throne. So, Baba reminded us again of our self-respect and self-sovereignty. Remain seated on your immortal throne. Don't fluctuate. Then even the government will have visions. These are the ones. These are the ones. These are the ones. 3 times. Wo hi hai, wo hi hai, wo hi hai. These are the ones. Don't get off the throne. Don't let go of your rights. Use your rights all the time, only on yourself. Don't use your rights on others. Means don't start controlling or ordering others. Use your rights on your senses and subtle senses, mind, intellect, and sanskars. Acha. Many new children have also come. Baba is greeting.
Yeah, we'll stop there.
Baba says the same. Okay.
Do you want to share it?
Just one thing about when the Baba said about water. Well, this Murli is 2001, so it is 21 years ago. So now, I mean, we don't have much time. That's why Baba says, keep practicing over a long period of time. Then you will be able to remain what you call, no, you won't be afraid or fluctuate, and will be able to do what Baba has said, help in with the facilities of spiritual powers and make others content. And I remember a sister from Rajasthan sharing that Dadiji, just few months before the earthquake happened, Dadiji had this feeling, and Dadiji rang that sister and said that because they don't have much water, it's like a desert, so there's water is very scarce. And so Dadiji said to Sister Center that they were digging and looking for water, but they weren't able to for over a long time. And so that day, suddenly Dadiji, few months before the earthquake, had rung and said to Sister, try this place. And, in the center, around the center, they wanted to dig a borehole. So that place had a plenty of water, and so they were prepared. So as if Baba was preparing them. And so they had well there for the center and around other centers. And so that came in use for those, because from abroad, at that time, there were some who had gone to visit their relatives, and they were going to center to listen to Murli. So a lot of them were able to stay in the center at that time because it was so bad outside and there was no water and facilities. And that's why they were requesting Dadiji to send more and more tankers. So this was, Baba really giving this, but providing our intellect is pure and free of wasteful thoughts. So I thought that was really beautiful. So Baba is preparing us to practice and, have become that embodiment.
The spiritual capabilities through establishing self-sovereignty, the fullness, the spiritual capabilities as we fill ourselves from Baba's inheritance, that will then unlock the vehicle of the subtle body. And so Baba is wanting all the souls of the world to receive Baba's attainments without them having to make the effort. He wants us to make the effort, fill ourselves, and then he expects us to fill them automatically through the mind. Would anyone like to share anything or ask anything?
Om Shanti.
Shanti.
Thank you, Ranjan Ben, for your emphasis and your repetition of certain points in the Murli. I remember when, even in 2001, when the Twin Towers in New York collapsed. Well, they actually were. Some people say they were actually made to collapse. And when I think Daddy Gulzar went up to Baba to ask what now, and Baba used the same, this is only a small bell because the big bell still has to come. And then Ranjan Ben, you were talking about when the vices have a progeny, like progeny of anger. I remember Didi Sudesh many years ago once said, I made a class on the 25 progeny of the vices. Since you were quite close with Didi Sudesh, she even congratulated you on your 40th BK year. Do you remember about that class with 25 progeny of the vices done by Didi Sudesh? Would you remember, or would you know how we can get a copy? Because she mentioned it in a class in the 90s, I think.
I don't really remember, but she's coming on Monday to UK, London. You can ask her to remind. She will gladly. She's coming for Raki. So after that.
I may also come for Rakhi in mid-August. I am in Italy,
Yes.
and I
So-
hope I will get to see you, Ranjan Ben.
Well, that'll be lovely. So I'll message you across Siddharthi Devi's email address. I'm sure she's always happy to receive questions. And then maybe while you're in the UK, she could take up that class.
And then you can have a record and then everybody can benefit.
Maybe she's now churned further
Mm.
and they're a different 25, or maybe they're now 75.
If Ranjan Ben gets to ask her in Hindi.
Yeah.
No, I think Siddharthi Devi's.
I know she speaks English, but
I think it will be equivalent.
Yeah, she's coming this Monday. Monday is the 1st August already.
already, okay.
Yeah, this Monday. So
I'll send you.
she will be getting ready to come over. You know, today is Saturday, and then tomorrow is Sunday, and Germany is ahead time. So she'll be here on Monday in UK.
Yeah, we are only 1 hour ahead.
Yeah.
So here it's sort of like lunchtime.
Yeah.
Okay, great.
Thank you, Ranjan Ben.
Thank you, sister. Would anyone else like to share anything?
Shanti.
Shanti.
I like how they in this Murli Baba emphasized the Mansa Seva, and to detach yourself and understand that it's you're serving Baba's children, and you have to be aware of that and take yourself away from whatever problems there are, and serve according to directions from Baba. But Mansa Seva, I believe, is it's so important, and it's the way that we should go at this time, because nobody listens, and there is power in Mansa Seva. Shanti.
Yes, I also feel that the service through words takes a long time, and people have to be convinced. They even if they do accept things, it's all a slower process to becoming full. And what Baba is saying to us is that you have to have this ability. So he was describing the scene of so many angels, so many Brahmins traveling across the world while sitting in one place. And souls won't see this physical self. They will just witness that angelic self. So Baba said, your subtle body will become a vehicle and you'll be able to distribute. We can see in the history of the Yajna how Shiv Baba pushed, motivated Mama and Baba to become full very quickly. And because they were full, they were able to then share with the daddies and make the daddies strong. And if you hear any of the Murlis from 1969, 1970, maybe up to about 1974, you can really see how Baba is talking to the daddies about becoming like Brahma Baba, and how they have to also then share on that level. And we witness that. We have all experienced how they were able to share treasures with us and fill us. And Baba said, you've got to create the atmosphere so that souls get what they need, what they want. And I've shared this before, but Dedi Janki used to talk about traveling in her angelic body, even in her dreams. And sometimes it would be while she's having yoga, but she would have this experience of souls sometimes like needing her to go to them, and sometimes she would be still, and it would just be as if there's like a line of souls coming in front of her, and she's sharing that drishti. So we're seeing how once a soul becomes full, it's as if the subconscious mind can continue to give. So she was doing this while she was sleeping. And we can hear in Baba's messages how the advanced party get emerged in the subtle region. And Baba says they're traveling around helping the Brahmins. They're helping souls of the world. They're helping the scientists. They're helping many others who need that help, even though they are in another body, playing another role. So I think, as you say, this is this training that we are playing our roles, and there might be all sorts of challenges. There might be all sorts of karmic accounts. There might be all sorts of test papers. But can we free our mind? Can we create a stage where we're not absorbing burdens into our subconscious mind? And then that free mind is able to continue to serve. It's unlocking this vehicle. Even if we are busy with doing all sorts of things in our role. Bikaben, did you want to come in?
Om Shanti. Baba often said, it is this practice over a long period of time that will serve us in the end. And it is really having all powers. But the power to discern in the end, I believe will be really, really crucial because as Baba was saying, whatever soul needs, you're able to discern what is needed at that time. And it is, as you were saying earlier, unlike the analogy of digging deep into the subconscious where the files are concerned and bringing up the original files, which are the deity files. Because really it is memories of the recent past is what bugs us at time, because we bring up the memories most of the time that are not so good, that weighs us down and keeps us grounded here instead of becoming light and becoming bodiless. It is those sanskars and memories that weighs heavy. But it is really, as Baba said in the Murli, and Ranjan Ben was also reiterating, it's the self-respect, it's awareness. I remember Mike George had given a class, and he said awareness, awareness, awareness. And it's a constant reminder of who am I? Who am I? And I am Baba's. And Baba often says, I am yours, you are mine. And it's really having this self-talk, bringing it into your consciousness. What is real? What is not real? What is needed for the hour? And having this consciousness that I am here, Baba emphasizes in the Murli, to serve, that we are here to serve. But I cannot serve if I have not served myself and making myself full. As the Pope message was also saying, I have to be full. So it is really working on the self. And really, I like what you said with the files again, digging deep into the consciousness and bringing up those original files, this constant awareness and reminding myself my purpose as a Brahmin. And when time comes, what am I able to do, or what is expected of me? And am I able to do it? Om Shanti.
Yes, thank you. And the analogy that Baba gives in the Morales is that you've been buried in a graveyard. He uses this phrase, and this is what the intellect is. It's buried in this graveyard of memories. And I've had the experience a few times where you can just be overwhelmed by papers and files. You can walk into a room, I've seen it at work, also I've seen it at relatives' places where you don't know where you are. You can't make head or tail because there's so many papers, so many files, everything is everywhere. And at places like Oxford University, they're very proud of their libraries. And they comment how they've got 11 million books, because under the law in England, every book published in English, a copy must go to Oxford. And so it's, you can imagine, so they have separate warehouses that they're acquiring just to store these books, and there's miles of them. And you can imagine the role of these librarians. And can you, like, how do you organize these things and sort these things? And when we start off in the Copper Age, it's just like one room. So when they started off this library, it would have been small, right? And then 1,000 years later, this library's got 11 million books, and suddenly managing it is a big thing. And so similar for us, you see, when at the beginning of the Copper Age, managing memory was not a big thing. But at the end of the Iron Age, we are buried in this graveyard of memory. And it links in with what you were saying about discernment also, that discernment and decision-making, they are often driven by our subconsciousness. And this is why we look back later and we sort of are saying, well, why did I do this? But what was I thinking? And it's because we've become awake later on. You know, we were unconscious to the fact that we were unconscious. And so it's this thing of being overwhelmed and extracting the intellect from all of those memories. Different Brahmins have also had different traumas in this current life. And sometimes you do find that some Brahmins are a bit more damaged. And it can take that time for healing, because as you're saying, serve yourself. And the way Baba put it was, have mercy on yourself. The word mercy maybe is the wrong word. That same word, it can be translated as compassion. So, you know, be compassionate to yourself. And Baba is not separating. He's not seeing that as being selfish. Because if you are healing, you are becoming full. It gives you capabilities to then distribute that, because these are Baba's treasure then. So I think that this is really, you know, sometimes if you've got a house full of stuff, full of clutter, actually it's healthy for you, like your mind, your body, your environment, to not go running around doing things at the center, you know, to almost like take a month off, not run around doing programs, and clear your place. Because actually your yoga will improve, your mentality will improve. Lady Genki was very, very strict. She was like a natural, feng shui is very popular nowadays, the Chinese system of placing things. And Lady Genki was just a natural at this. If you go and look at any of her centers, like everything will be in a certain place, neutral colors, naturally. The Hindu equivalent is Vastu, V-A-A-S-T-U. That's the same as the Chinese is feng shui. And the Hindu one is Vastu. So there's scriptures on where you should place north, east, west, like how you should place everything in your house, how you should design everything. And it's to do with energies and architecture and stuff. And Daddy just, not even one extra thing. Like if you've got one item that you don't need, it has to go, because there's an energy that will pull you. So I think that it's also a reflection internally, isn't it? I have a friend who helps us out with removing things. He's a van. He's a young person who I used to teach. He's not a BK, but he's interested in spirituality. He's always asking me about it. And because he does removals, he gets asked by local authorities to clear flats, particularly local authorities. They might be looking after people with mental health conditions or other such ailments. And he was saying to me that you can actually see a person's mental health deterioration in their garage, in their extra storage space, because initially their collection is ordered and it makes sense and it's useful things. And over the years, they've been accumulating stuff more randomly and useless things, like rubbish is suddenly precious. And so he was saying that you can actually see where that person's mental health deteriorated over 30 years just by looking at their storage. And that this is what's happened to us internally. So when Baba's looking at us, the things that are rubbish have become precious. And this is in itself an illness. And as long as that's there inside of our consciousness, how do we take good decisions? We just won't. How do we discern anything? We won't. And we haven't been. Our intellect has been buried in the grave. Maria Ben, do you want to come in?
They say that hoarding, HOARD, hoarding, is actually, well, aside from being a mental disorder, does it have to do with attachment? I want to keep this vase. I want to keep this pen. I remember Daddy Junkie, when she used to go and visit houses, she would enter and first of all put her finger to see if there's dust, just to check if it's been cleaned. So this has to do with attachment. And when Baba says clean yourself up, he also says make your home like a temple. Make it like God's home.
Yes, and that's right. She used to open up all the cupboards. I remember when Jayanti Ben's mother left the body.
And she would actually open the cupboards, open and look inside.
Yeah, look at everything.
Okay.
And the Jayanti Ben's mother left the body maybe about 20 years ago, something like that, 25 years ago, maybe. And yeah, Rajni Ben. And her father, Murali Bhai, was very attached. Like they were a couple for 50, 60 years, so very attached. They were living in their house in Pune. And he was not like a yogi type. He was a cooperative soul. And the first thing Daddy said to him, all of Rajni's clothes, give them away to charity. Everything. Do not. And she really empowered him to let go, because it can be a tendency, can't it? Someone dies, you want to keep their things, because it's your association with that person.
Sorry. Not only that, all day he was watching their videos and crying and feeling depressed. So that's what happened.
So these items are symbols of memory. They are memory. They're like memory in a physical form, and they also are a sense of security, because it's like a touch point to a past where I felt happy or I felt more safe. So objects are very much touchstone.
Like a souvenir of the past.
Yes, it's more like a memento, it's almost like a symbol, really. So yeah, you get this. And Baba's saying, right, from now as well, have a look externally and internally. What are you attached to? These are all attachment. Everything is an attachment, ultimately. It's all, our ego is a construct of attachment.
And I wanted to ask Ranjan then, when they were leaving Pakistan, and Baba said, of course they had to pack up and rent a train, and then they said all of the Morleys, let's bury them under the house or something. And Brother Charlie was saying that when he went to visit this old Pakistan house, he could feel, and he was saying, what if somebody digs up and finds the Morleys of 50 years ago? Do you have any stories about these moving out? And do you think that those Morleys that were buried could be the ones that they find when they say, oh, we found a scripture of the Egyptians under the sea? Could it be something like that?
Well, I mean, Daddy said that. Okay, Baba said, well, they will make scriptures. They
It's
will
in the
find.
Murali, is it?
It's in the Murli, and it's Baba also kept it saying, but because you see, they so many, they couldn't carry so much. But which soap was given by free by that company? Sunlight, was it Sunlight? Used to be Sunlight or the soap that.
Lux, Lux.
Yeah,
Lux
I think
soap.
Sunlight or that soap, but there was a big company and they gave them free. And so Baba said, no, nobody's just pick your essentials, but we must take all this soap. He mentions in Murli that we used to use it, but now that cleanses you. So this is why Baba said, leave the Murli. It will benefit in the future. So I don't know whether it's serious or, but because they wanted to carry all the soap and essential things, they didn't know where they would get the accommodation and how much they could carry. It was suddenly. It was somebody, government people, somebody, because there were some government people and neighbors. They could feel that these are Allah log, people, God's children, and we are safe so long as they stay here. They wanted them to stay all the time because they say, what will we do? There is so much, civil war, everything is going on, and we love you. Since you have come, we feel so safe. But they can't. So came secretly and told Baba that, Baba, make preparation, I'll arrange everything because these people are going to kill you and harm you in many ways. And this is why they had to do it. And so Baba said, just quickly pack whatever we have, but pack all the soap and things they wanted to. There's necessary that will help us. So that's why they left
And I think they had to rent a train or
a steamer. It wasn't the train, it was the steamer, big steamer.
A steamer,
Ship.
okay.
Yeah, those days there was not many trains or.
Yeah, they booked the train as well. That's right. So
They did, yeah. Train and this big steamer, big ship, there so that they can carry a lot. And they were going to Porbandar. The ship is Porbandar, is near Dwarika, where they think the Krishna's heaven will come up. So this is what they are doing research on. They do a lot on that Dwarika near Porbandar, near where. So they are still doing a lot of research that one day the heaven will come up. That is good.
And
But Baba explains it's the cycle is turning and then heaven, but they think it was under the ocean. But no, it's the cycle. We are going up now to heaven and then we'll come down again. But this is their perception.
And Brother Charlie said that when he went to visit, I don't know how recently, she said this house of Baba, because he said, I didn't realize that he was so rich. He had so many buildings. And this same home, which was the center, which was the headquarters, actually became a school. And then he goes, at this moment, the owner is a high class fashion designer from Pakistan, the one who owns the original home. And so it must be really a mansion.
Yeah.
Oh yes. And there were 5 of them, and they each could accommodate 80 people.
There were 6 mansions. But then again, when Daddy went a few years ago, I mean, a lot of things have changed. Now it's there. Some of the buildings are not there, and isn't it? It's shop.
There's a brother who visited the Baba's shop in Calcutta as well 2 years ago, and he was sending me the pictures. And again, it's a shame. I think it's a shame that Brahma Kumaris haven't bought these buildings. Even the shop in Calcutta, that one is not Baba's one. So yes, but yeah, a bit of history there. Thanks for that. Would anyone like to come in? You want to say something?
Yeah, actually, nobody.
Okay. Would anyone else like to come in with any final comments?
There was one sister, Sheila again. Is she due? Does she want to ask? We should welcome her.
Yes, yes, Brother Shailan. You know, your final stage is your subtle form, and Baba says to remain seated on your immortal throne and use your rights on yourself and not on others. Can you explain that a little bit? Your rights on yourself and not others?
Yes. So I would say, firstly, my experience is that we're not really strong enough to control our mind, intellect, sanskars. We have to build that strength through healing. So I think we are relying on Baba, developing our connection with Baba, staying in Baba's love. And it's really Baba's energy that's helping us to control our mind, helping us to control the sense organs. And through that, we are gaining strength. The more that we heal, the more that we fill ourselves. I was saying you should reach a point where you yourself could control your own mind, intellect, and sanskar without even Baba helping you. So that's the level of power that Baba wants us to get to. But that is something which would happen gradually. And like we were talking about earlier, the thing about the powers and the virtues is we've got to use them. So using your rights on yourself means using these powers, virtues, and knowledge to affect your thoughts and perceptions and feelings. And Baba's saying that you have to look at yourself like a kingdom, like there's many parts to you. You're not just one. Your intellect knows what you got to do, but your mind is doing something completely different, and your heart is feeling something completely different, and your memories are completely different. So what you find as a Brahmin is you can feel a little bit split. We often talk normally about head and heart, but actually we can be split in more than two directions. We can feel many, many different things all at once. So Baba is saying that's not self-sovereignty, is it? Self-sovereignty is about oneness in everything. So everything should just be according to how you want it to be. Baba says you should reach a point where you can just stabilize in one thought for as long as you want, and your mind just wouldn't move. It only moves when you tell it to. Now, at the end of the Iron Age, that's impossible, because our mind is just creating thoughts and thoughts and thoughts and feelings and feelings and feelings, memories and memories and memories. So you can see that we got a lot of work to do, and it's thousands of years of damage has distorted the soul. So Baba is now re-empowering in just a few years, in just a few decades. So it's not long at all. And as time goes on, Baba's giving more. You might remember in March, I think it was Daddy Janki's Day's Org message. Baba said he's giving bonus. Bonus is even now, bonus blessing. So Baba's giving us more and more, and we've got to just not be careless and continue to absorb. And so Baba's saying that our habit in body consciousness is not really to be aware of what's going on inside of us, but to be very aware of others. So we are using our powers over others. And our entire society is based on whatever we're like on the inside, as long as we are okay, acceptable on the outside. And Baba's saying that's not what the Golden Age is about. The Golden Age must have reality. So the two Sunday Muralis we've had recently, one was on the personality of purity, and then the following Sunday was the reality, the royalty of reality. And so Baba was saying these are the two things that you have to establish inside of yourself. You have to develop such purity in your feelings and vision and perception of everything. And you have to establish this authenticity, this reality in all parts of yourself. And that's when you can say, yes, I'm God's child. Otherwise, of course, we're God's children. We're all God's children, but we're not like the embodiment of God's children. Because Shiv Baba is very pure, very authentic, and he's expecting us to become like him. And we have examples. So we can see from the souls who are ahead of us on this path that they began to embody that. And so we've got those examples that it's possible. And this is why Baba is saying, why would you worry about others? It's for you to work on yourself. The one thing that no one else can do is change your inner self. Only you can do that. With Baba, of course. So in this way, Baba is saying, don't waste your time with others.
And Baba says, if you are the king seated, your mind, intellect, sanskars, and all your senses will be in a unity, and they would obey your orders and do what, and you will be very royal. I mean, but at the moment inside, sometimes, the stage is good, sometimes there's conflict going between. So that's why Baba would like us to practice and have that compassion, mercy on ourselves. And you asked that about subtle vehicle. So I was going to say that there's a couple of Murlis, I remember the date, and if you have time and if you want to practice it, Baba has explained it simply and might help you with this drill and this practice. It's the Murli of 11th February 1971. 11/02/1971, and the other Murli is 11th of October 1975, 11/10/1975. So that would help you with your stage. Baba has given the method and how to, and simply. So, and then if with that practice, we'll be able to give sakas. At the moment, Baba is taking us everywhere. We don't realize. Baba always takes us as angels in the evening. But Brahma Baba has to do most of the work because we are not ready. So
we'll take up those Murlis then another
later,
time.
yeah, some other time.
Maria,
Thank you so much. I will look at them. Thank you.
Can you check the dates?
Yeah.
Please.
Yeah,
And
that's right. That's right. We'll take them up as well.
okay.
Go ahead, Maria.
And I forgot the. Oh, when you were talking about different personalities, could they be different lives, different sanskars, different memories? That like all of a sudden I find myself wanting something which I didn't like before, but all of a sudden lots of mixtures start coming out. Could they be reminders of the past, of not of this body but other bodies?
Yeah, definitely. And Baba doesn't get us to regress and know about all our different births, but he says that you've got these sets of sanskars. So like I was giving the example of the library, the box of files. So if you imagine, it's every second of this drama is accumulating some files that are being recorded in you, the soul. So if you then multiply that even in 1 year, how many seconds? Then you multiply that year by decades, and then you think about in one lifetime, how many boxes have you stored in the soul? Then you multiply that by 63. And you can see what Baba's saying about the huge burden that we're carrying, and that how tired we've become carrying that burden. So Baba's saying to go back with Baba, you've got to become empty again. You carry nothing with you, just the original self as you were.
So a suggestion for future chats on cleanliness.
This is a good one.
aside from purity.
It's a good one. Definitely. So we've reached 1 o'clock. So let's 1 o'clock here in the UK. So let's stop for today. Another rich discussion. Thank you all of you for attending and bringing out the best of the points. It's like the butter as we churn Baba's ocean of milk, ocean of knowledge. Thanks for helping to extract the butter. And then also warm greetings to those of you tuning in later through the YouTube video. I can see that many of you do tune in later. So thanks for doing that, and hope that you enjoy that. And if you have any questions, feel welcome to get in touch another way later on. So, Om Shanti.
Om Shanti.
Om Shanti.
Shanti.
Shanti. Have a
Happy
good week.
Rocky, happy
Om
August.
Shanti.
See you.
See you. Om Shanti.